It is 6 months to the day since former Air Force intelligence officer turned whistleblower David Grusch came on News Nation and made an earth-shattering claim. He alleged the U.S. government has a top-secret program that has been studying and reverse engineering non-human original technical vehicles, basically UFOs, since before World War II.
We have spacecraft from another species.
We do, yeah.
How many?
Quite a number.
You're kidding.
No. I thought it was totally nuts, and I thought at first I was being deceived. It was a ruse. People started confiding in me. They approached me. I have plenty of current and former senior intelligence officers that came to me, many of which I knew almost my whole career, that confided in me they were a part of a program. They named the program. I've never heard of it.
He'd never heard of the program, but now the whole world has. Because not only did that interview put Grusch on the map, it put him in the hot seat on Capitol Hill. Grusch testified in front of Congress alongside two other military veterans, all three telling lawmakers and the public what they knew about unidentified anomalous phenomenon, UAPs, which is the new word for UFOs. What he says our government knows about them.
Do you believe that our government is in possession of UAPs?
Absolutely, based on interviewing over 40 witnesses over 4 years.
And where?
I know the exact locations, and those locations were provided to the Inspector General and some of which to the intelligence committees. I actually had the people with the firsthand knowledge provide a protected disclosure to the Inspector General.
Grusch is no publicity hound. Since that day, he's remained protective over those sources and very respectful of security obligations, only giving a handful of interviews on the subject. But tonight I sat down with him for a wide-ranging conversation. We started with the latest news that key portions of an unprecedented measure to disclose classified government records relating to UAPs, those measures were stripped from the annual defense spending bill. It was not the news Grusch was hoping for. David, we just heard that two key provisions were killed from this defense bill that basically water down the requirement to make public any information about spacecraft, about alien remains. I take it you're disappointed.
Yes, yeah, thank you for having me on today. And, you know, what we're witnessing right now is, quite frankly, the greatest legislative failure in American history. You know, you had a very strong amendment for government transparency on this issue, whether you believe my allegations or not. You know, this is a government transparency issue at large, and you know the legislation was modeled off of you know previous government transparency issues. I mean, so we had a mixed bag of success, right? If we believe the conference report that was submitted last week, Section 1687, which effectively fences off money to illegal special access programs, something that Marco Rubio, Mark Warner, and his staff on the Senate Select Committee for Intelligence championed. That did make it through conference, and I do congratulate the senators that pushed hard to make sure that that was not removed during conference to help further this effort.
It leaves the door open for anything that is, quote, national security, we get to keep secret.
100%, and that's why we were going to have a neutral 9-person panel, and all that was enumerated in the Schumer rounds, you know, amendment earlier this year, and that was not written in a vacuum. That was written, you know, with other individuals bringing them information as well.
All right. Were you hoping to be on that panel, that 9-person panel that would make those decisions on what had to stay secret and what could be made public?
Certainly, it's not my place to be on the panel. I certainly offered through certain staff up to the White House. I would be happy to participate. I mean, I'm happy to get coffee, for God's sakes. But you do know I was actually behind the scenes interviewing former undersecretaries, former general officers, Nobel laureate type folks that would fill those specific billets on the, you know, URRB, which is the disclosure panel that was described in the Schumer amendments. So there are certainly people of high repute that were willing to serve on that panel to do their best to provide the president a recommendation on what he should disclose. And now that the panel is not signed into public law on the legislative branch side. I mean, we need to advocate for the executive branch, the Office of the President, through executive action, to instate such a body to advise him on the best course of action now that, Congress has failed to legislate appropriately. And I'm here to, praise and admonish. I mean, certainly the Senate, thank you for proposing that legislation. I'm glad you got some provisions passed. But folks in the House, I mean, total failure. It's one of the biggest failures probably in the history of Congress.